this sweater, I'm using worsted weight yarn and a 5mm crochet hook. But because it's all based on measurements, you can use any weight of yarn and corresponding crochet hook that you like. And you're gonna need a pair of scissors, of course. So we're of course going to start with our slip knot. The sweater is constructed in 2 panels that make up the front and the back, and then we seam them together and then work the sleeves in the round. So your chain is going to need to, your starting chain is going to need to be wide enough that it fits your shoulder measurement. So I would measure your shoulders or just measure the chain on your shoulders, on your body, to make sure it's a good fit. And it has to be a multiple of 8 plus 4 for the stitch pattern. So my chain is going to be 60, which is 56 is my multiple of 8 plus 4 to give us 60. So I'm just going to finish my starting chain and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so now we have our starting chain. As I mentioned, mine is 60, but yours will be whatever multiple of 8 plus 4 fits for the size of yarn you're using and your shoulder measurement. So from here, we're just gonna chain 2 and double crochet into the last chain space that we made. And this chain 2 is not going to count as a stitch throughout the whole pattern. So we just double crocheted 1 and we're going to do 3 more in each chain. So 4 double crochets in total. That's 4. And then we're gonna chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're gonna skip 4 chain spaces and do another double crochet into the 5th one. And then so this is your first of another 4. So this is our pattern throughout the whole panel. So that's 2, 3, and 4, and then again you're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 4 chain spaces in your starting chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, and double crochet into the 5th. And it's really that easy. It's just 4 double crochets. And that's 3, 4, and then 4 chains. And so you're going to do this all the way across the row, and you're going to make sure you end in 4 double crochets at the end of your chain. And that's why it's a multiple of 8 plus 4. So I'll meet you back at the end of the row. Okay, so we've completed our first row and it should be looking something like this. And I'll show you how to do row 2, and row 2 is the exact same way that you're gonna do all the other rows for the panel. So you're just gonna chain 2. Again, this doesn't count as a stitch. And you're gonna double crochet into these 4 double crochets that you made. So that's 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, same as the first row, and you're going to skip all the chain spaces you made in the first row and double crochet into all the double crochets. So you're just going to follow this pattern for the whole panel. And the front and back panels are worked exactly the same, which is what gives us the nice like boat neck look of the sweater. So you can go ahead and make, once you're done your front panel, you can make the back panel as well in the same pattern. And just make sure all your stitch counts are the same and your row count is the same so that they line up nicely. And yeah, you can of course make this as cropped or as long as you like, depending on your taste. I like to do mine just like waist length. So yeah, I'll meet you back here once I have both of my panels completed and we're ready for the next step. Okay, so now both of our panels are done. As you can see, I have them just laid on top of each other here. And I placed stitch markers where the seaming will be done. So for the seaming at the top, it's completely up to you. The only important thing to remember is that your head has to fit through the space you leave. And because there's no like shoulder allowance, you need a little bit of a wider space to make sure it goes over your head, and that also gives this like really nice boat neck effect when you're wearing it. So I have my stitch markers here for the neckline, and then you're just gonna seam at the top where this will become the shoulders. So you want your pattern pieces wrong sides together because this will then be flipped inside out and this side will become the outside of your sweater. For the sleeves, it's a little more mathematical. But so I'm leaving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows. Our sleeves are going to be worked in the same pattern of 4 double crochets, 4 chain, 4 double crochets, 4 chain spaces. So you need to make sure that the number of rows you have corresponds with this number of stitches. I like to use 1 row of double crochets as 2 stitches because they're going sideways because you're working them in the round. So 1 row will be 2 stitches, so 2 rows will be your 4 double crochets and 2 rows will be your 4 chain spaces. So based on the armhole depth that you like, and you can measure an armhole that you like on a sweater that you really like to wear, or you can just try it on as you go and see, like try seaming a bit and see what you think of the armhole, if there's enough space. For the armhole, it just needs to be a multiple of 8, not 8 plus 4, because we're working in the round. So to give it a continuous look, you're not gonna have these extra 4 double crochets at the end. It's just gonna be 4 double crochets, 4 chains, 4 double crochets, 4 chains, etc. Yeah, so for me, 10 rows works great for my, like the armhole depth that I like. So yeah, you're just gonna seam your shoulders here and then your body up to here. You obviously don't need to use a chain or a stitch marker, I mean, if you don't have them or you don't like them. I just use them so you can really see. And the way that I am going to seam them together is just with my same color yarn and my hook, and I just put the hook into the 2 panels and just slip stitch through. Ooh, catch the yarn. And just slip stitch through. And you can also use a hook that's like 1 size smaller so that it doesn't give you too tight of a seam, but you can work into the stitches a little bit easier. Or you can use a tapestry needle if that's your preferred way of seaming. The way you do the seaming is really not very important as long as it's all seamed. So yeah, once you finish your seaming, you're gonna flip it inside out, like I mentioned, and this will become what's inside now will become the outside of your sweater. And then I'll show you how to work the sleeves. Okay, so I've just finished seaming my shoulders. I took out the stitch markers, so you can see now this will be our head hole. So I'm gonna turn this sideways so I can work on the side body seams. I just want to mention, because I know we didn't mention it before, but it's kind of intuitive, but just to make sure, it's important to make sure that your panels are very lined up so that the front and the back matches perfectly when you seam them, so that you're getting like an even edge and then your bottom hem will be straight. I also like to, it's not super important, but I do like to keep my starting chain as the bottom of the sweater. And then the top is like the end of the panel where we worked up to. And this just gives you a little more stretch in your neckline, because as we know, the starting crochet chain is not very stretchy. So this lets you have like a little more space at the neck, a little more comfy. And yeah, so now I'm going to seam. I actually did change to, this is a 4.5mm hook. Ooh, it's not catching. And I did the rest with a 5mm just so it goes into the stitches a little easier, especially when you're working on the like side of the stitches, for the top neckline, because you're working directly into where you would usually put your hook in the stitch. It's a bit easier. But yeah, so I'm just going to seam up the side now, and I will join you again when the seaming is all finished. Okay, so our seaming is all done. Yay, shoulder seams are done and side body seams also done. Take a second, pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself. You finished the body of your sweater, yay. So as I mentioned before, we're now gonna flip this inside out so that the seams, well, I guess right side out, so that the seams will be on the inside when you wear the sweater. And the sleeves will be worked in the round on the outside of the sweater. So yeah, this is my armhole, what's gonna become the sleeve. This also, now that I'm looking at it, would be like kind of cute as a vest. I've never tried that, but if you do, comment below and let me know, because I would love to see. But anyways, we're gonna start our sleeves. Both sleeves are worked exactly the same, so I'm just gonna show you how to do one, and then you can work both the exact same. So we're gonna grab our yarn and then the same hook. I know I said I was using like a smaller hook for the seaming. We're gonna go back to the same hook size that we used for the body. So of course we're gonna start with our slip knot. And then you're just gonna attach the yarn. I like to attach it in what will be the underarm, so then your like sleeve seam is kind of hidden under your arm when you're wearing the sweater. So just slip stitch in, attach the yarn, and then chain 2, and same thing for the sleeves. I don't like to use the starting chain as, or like this chain as a stitch, so I just chain 2 instead of 3, and then I'm still gonna do 4 double crochets, and you can kind of tuck your tail under so you have less weaving to do at the end. So as I mentioned, each row will be 2 stitches, like each row of double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have our first 4 there, and that's our first 2 rows working sideways into them. And then same thing, we're gonna chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then skip these 2 rows and work into the next 2 with our 4 double crochets, putting 2 in each row. 3, 4, and chain 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if you counted your rows correctly, then you should end up, when you get all the way around, you should end up with, like, the pattern should work in a circle perfectly. I'll show you that when we get there. So yeah, just continue in the pattern. This yarn loves to tangle on me. So yeah, we're just gonna continue in the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 2, double crochet 1, 2, 3, oops, I think I skipped one there. And it's not super important like which parts of the stitches you go into. It shouldn't, unless your stitches are super loose, it shouldn't leave really big holes. And because the sweater is already pretty gappy, it doesn't make a huge difference. So I just like to go in wherever the hook kind of fits easiest. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, so you just have 2 left here, 2 rows left, and then you're gonna chain your 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're gonna attach that right into, just slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet you made, as you would usually if you're working in the round. And that's just the way you go about the whole sleeve. So chain 2, work your 4 double crochets, and then your 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and double crochet into the top of the other double crochet from the previous row. And yeah, you just continue all the way around the sleeve like this. And the nicest part about this is it's really easy to try it on as you go. So you'll see here, this will become our sleeve. So yeah, you can either, if you know your sleeve length, then you can just go with that, or you can try it on as you go and decide how long you want the sleeve. And then once you get to the end of your final row and you're happy with the sleeve length, you're obviously just gonna, again, slip stitch together, fasten off your yarn, and then you have a finished sweater. Super exciting. So yeah, comment below if you made this. I would love to see your finished projects. I will put a little more video at the end so you can see a little more of what this sweater looks like.